If I could, though, I want to back up a little bit. Bozo, that's all great. There's a lot of jargon in there. If I was watching this, Taco, I'm not taking your job from you.
No.
But I'd want to know some just basic stuff about flying and being in the airplane, right? So that simple question, and I'll lead it off by just saying that in general, when you see something on screen that looks like the airplanes are flying close, they're close.
Oh, absolutely.
And that goes back to some of the stuff we were talking about before, in that, these are not things we would ever do tactically. They're more kind of like air show. It's all scripted and choreographed. But believe me, especially in the wide shots where you see, no, there's 4, no, there's 5 or whatever, and the F-14s are going and F-5s are coming by, they're really, really close to each other.
Yeah,
that's one insight. So the scene that you just showed with Bozo there's a couple where Tex and I were flying in the A4s, and we're over land, and they're having us back, the throttle's off because it's hard to track. So here I am flying fairly low to the ground, and the A4 was notorious because it had aerodynamic slats, and each one of the airplanes had a reputation as to when the slats would come out and would they come out at the same time, because if they didn't, you're in for a surprise. The way you knew is when you closed the canopy, you looked and you saw where all the scars were from guys' helmets hitting. Okay, that's the slat that comes out first. So the airplane, wham, it smacks you in the head. But all that said, and what we were referring to before, like Hollywood was talking about, when you're low and slower than normal and doing things you're not really accustomed to doing, you really got to be on your toes. We were flying light. We didn't have... we probably took off sometimes with 50% fuel in these things, depending on what we were doing. Maybe a full load, but the A4 performed great at those lower altitudes. But we'd have to back off because of the tracking issues. So you're flying really slow, really close, and they're saying, okay, now roll the airplane. So you roll left and you roll right, and Bose will attest, and Hollywood and I both flew it. The F-14 did a lot of stuff good, but it did not roll very well. Especially, they said, okay, sweep the wings back because it looks like it's going fast, even though they're not going fast. And then you're really starting to get some performance issues.
Yeah, adverse yaw, yeah.
Yeah.
That was the deal. The Tomcat had differential tails, and these guys all flew Tomcat, they know. And so up to a certain amount, there's like 11 or 13 degrees, I don't know how much it had, but a certain amount of roll, that's all you got was differential tail, like so. And then you got spoiler augmentation, which had adverse yaw. And so it made the roll off the ship, for example, hard to do because I'm trying to keep the ship between the tails. And so it took a lot of rudder to offset the adverse roll, which was being offset by the spoilers because I'm doing a hard roll to the left. And it also made the distances that you did this. That's why we didn't take a cat shot, clean it up, and then do the roll. By the time that all that got to the point where the Tomcat could actually roll and not go into the water,
you'd never see the carrier.
Well, you would see it. It'd be a dot. And that, again, going to what Hollywood's saying, the director, he wants this stuff in. It's, and so I had gone out and practiced actually the day before I had the overhead message to go out and do it for real out of San Clemente at the NAS there. They had a big outcropping of rocks, and I went out there and explained them the whole thing I wanted to do. And of course, there's nothing out there but goats and passed over people. So they let me charge over the rocks, and I would pull right up after I passed the rocks, meaning the carrier, and then I would do the rolls. And I filmed it. This is what I called the camera bird. Grumman came out and modified our airplane in 5 spots where there was power and structure. They could put a camera on it. And this one was up on the crow's beak, which is the wing sweep pivot area. And it was facing back through the tails. The lens was, so you could see between the tails. And so I did all that and came back, and they were supposed to generate a videotape so I could see what I did. And I'm sitting there at 12 o'clock with a 1 o'clock overhead to go out to Enterprise and do this for real. And I haven't seen what I shot. I don't know how good I did,
And where did they mount that camera? So that angle
in the crow's beak, if you will, think of the wing sweep of the F-14 right above the intakes. You follow it back. There's kind of a crowning area, obviously on both sides, and they dug in to a stringer, which is just inboard of the wing sweep pivot, and there was structure there to tie into, and there was 28-volt power, which also caused a lot of problems because they had to. All right, well, let's see, if you will. Come down some more, right? Come outboard, go out to the edge. You know where you see the glove vanes on there? Can you see the glove vanes? The glove vanes are. Let's see. I can't show you my work. I got a
That's all
Tomcat
right.
here. Hang on. I got a Tomcat. Doggone it. It doesn't take. Hang on a second. Where's my
Take a
Tomcat?
moment. Where's my Tomcat?
There's my Tomcat.
Everybody should have one.
Put a little stick in the back of it, and you can start.
Playing on a stick.
I'm back. Stick 4, neutrolateral, rocky harness, check paternal. So right here, this is the glove vane sticking out. Right above that, if you follow it back, the wing sweep pivot is right around here. Let's see, you seen this? Anybody seeing it?
And so they were able to attach the camera there.
Well, don't get me wrong. I had just come off being maintenance officer, and so when Grumman sends one guy out, a tech rep, using my metalsmiths, or the squadron metalsmiths, if you will, they come out with this elaborate thing. Now we're talking, you build an airplane, you have structural engineering, you have tests and all that. They came out and mounted that thing and dug straight into the skin, and then I kept wondering, is this thing going to come flying off? And it faced forward and aft, the one up on the crow's beak, and they did a great job. I thought it would come off the first time it went flying, because I'm not sparing the rod on the airplane, because we're filming and doing stuff, right? So, but anyway, long story short, they showed up in the van, and I got to see the video of what I had shot the day before out at the outcropping of rocks there at San Clemente. And what's really cute is the rocks are in between the tails. I just did a regular roll, actually double rolls, because that's what I did, even though there's only one in the movie. They cut it. But the rocks would go away from between the tails. I'd finish my roll, and the rocks would come back. So right away, I knew I had failed the day before, keeping the rocks in the center. So all the way out to the ship, I kept thinking, well, how do I do this? Well, I was going to do it the old manual hard way. I put my mirrors up in the thing, and I said, I'm going to use the rudders and whatever it takes to hold the ship in the between the tails, I'll do it. So if you look in the movie, you will see a whole lot of tail action that is not in a regular roll off the Tomcat.
Well, Jambo,
doing nothing, keep the ship in the middle.
Yeah, Jambo Hollywood, did you guys have cameras mounted on the A4s or the F5s?
F5, they had
in
cockpit that
we had that too.
yeah.
The cockpit stuff was easy. This was, I was nervous about the digging into the airplane.
Yeah,
but I tell you what, Grumman's Grumman. They did a great job.
Well, the cockpit, I always wondered about that. The dude that you see in the MiG, who is that guy? Is he just some actor they put in a cockpit? And
No,
it's
going to be these guys.
That was
I think
there were 3 or 4 of us that kind of had the same, light colored, ruddy, whatever. So it's what I remember. It was Hollywood, myself, Rat, and Lynn Seckinger. So it could be any of us, and some of it was just a snippet, and some I can go, I think that was me, but I'm not so sure.
Where the guy just kind of like looks up, and they have a camera. They had a camera down in the cockpit for you.
So
or was it the backseat or like bio?
It was mounted on the dash.
Yeah, kind of forward left, I think, and
yeah, up on the where the
so it's like switch on, switch off. So.
The F-14, we had the same thing, and the F-14 they took out the gyro, the artificial horizon, completely out. So it was a hard VFR airplane, and they put the camera in right there, and I had a little master control panel. There were 5 hard points on the airplane, 2 in the cockpit and 3 on the outside, and you'll see. Actually, there's a whole lot more to the story, because originally they were going to do all of the filming in the cockpit, but that didn't work out. They changed the lenses. We had the camera was taken in the back too. They took out the DDD, the radar display for the Rio in the back. They took it out, put a camera there too, and they would change the lenses. And I don't know beans about photography, but one of them would be like a 35 millimeter lens, and the other one would be a 22, and that would give you the differentiation between the front cockpit and the back cockpit. But there's plenty of editing in there where you'll see me with mask on, and I look different than the filming that they shot up in Hollywood with an F-14 cockpit. When they talk, the advantage the Top Gun guys had is that they didn't talk in the movie, right? And so they did all the filming in there. But for the F-14,
we were too busy killing guys.
Yeah, we had a real job.
They had a real job. Right.
We were still teaching, flying, supporting the fleet. Your basic, 7 days a week.
Hollywood.
I can condense everything that Top Gun teaches down to one simple maneuver. You go to the merge, and I pull straight up. And I roll a little bit to the left. I look down there at 8 o'clock, and they're all down there pointing at me. So I know where they are, and I'm pitching back
That's
into
right.
the fight. That's how you do it.
That's right. A bogey gathering turn.
That's right.
Hey, so, but you guys, when you all were sitting there flying, was Clay Lacey ever behind you guys in his Learjet
No.
down in the mountains
He
doing
has
that stuff?
he had a camera mounted vertically inside the Learjet with a little periscope that came out. They called it a free flight video. That's what they call it. And actually, it was a single lens camera, a motion picture camera. So they're filming and drawing off a video tape of it. That was kind of cool because you could actually see the videotape when you came back from the flight. Whereas everything else had to go to Hollywood, process, one into the can, hermetically sealed forever, and then a bunch of copies, and then we did the daily business.
Yeah,
What do you got,
remember,
Hollywood?
as I recall, on the bottom of the wings, they had put some lines. I can't remember if they were tape or paint, but so we sort of knew when you'd be in camera and when you'd come underneath the airplane. You knew when you were kind of exiting, that sort of field of view for the camera.
on the
Remember that?
Yeah.
On the Lear,
Yeah.
flying underneath him and the F-14 out there by San Clemente. I think I remember that mostly being underneath him. So.
Now, did you guys ever get busted like Bio did, trying to roll a sleeve up so he could see? Oh, I know that's me, the guy in the back. Did
Those
they ever
guys,
bust you guys?
guys caught everything.
Yeah. But I can tell you, I can guarantee you, Hollywood Jam and myself, when we watch the movie, we'll know if it's us because we remember the scene. I mean,
But like I said, I think what Jambo said, there was a lot of stuff a lot of film that didn't end up there. So you kind of like work your way through it. I don't know.
Well, how many hours did you guys go out on the range? I mean, for an average, to get a 10-second burst, how many hours were you guys out there? Okay, do another pass. All right.
A 10-second burst would be, just call it a sortie, if you will, in the editing final, So, I mean, I got to tell you, though, there was some sweet flying. I mean, we're all professionals, and we didn't harm a hair on any airplane, not a one. Because we basically, there's a saying, fight like you train like you fight, or fight like you train. But we filmed like we trained. And so we had it all organized, the maneuvers, the whole 9 yards, and we talked to each other and made it all work. But I got to tell you, there were some sweet times at Fallon. I can remember with Rat, we went out and found those cameras on the mountain, did our stuff, and we're on the way back. And Rat's got the lead, and I'm following him in the F-14. And Rat's got maybe, this is A4, he's got like 1.5, and I've got like 3.1, which is lower fuel than you would really come back. But we're so close to the field. And there we were in the sunshine, just finishing this, running around like you're seeing on the screen right now.
Well, go back for a second. Look at this. It looks like you kind of skidded out there for a second.
Actually, on the very first time I went, they wanted a shot of the F-14 coming straight in the cameras, and with Rat. And Rat, again, talking to what Jambo said about the roll rate, see this roll, watch this. I'm going to go way below. That's me right there, by the way. And then so here, I'm going to go below the edge, and there was a little crevice. And so I just went down the crevice, and they kept swinging the camera around while I went through there. Made good footage. But there was no whoa, really. I mean, I got the plane, and I know where to go, so that all worked out.
Yeah, no,
that's what you say. That's what you say when you get back to the whiteboard.
That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
See the back of my head. Now, that's what I'm talking about.
I meant to do that.
Well, in that scene, you
guys, we're used to looking at the back of your head when we flew together. So
no. That means I wouldn't have found you yet, because otherwise I'd be turning around and looking at you, going, "Holy cow, is he going to?"
Well, hey, speaking of whoa moments, if you throw back to the final countdown, there's a scene in that movie where the F-14 is doing a vertical loop at fairly low altitude and almost couples the airplane up and lost the airplane. And it makes for great cinema, but it also made for that guy taking a seat for a while because he was no longer allowed to participate.
Yeah, you guys had a little problem, and I sent him home. So
I'm talking about Final Countdown. That scene.
VF-84. Yeah, they did.
Yeah, but I remember that story as well. But yeah, I mean that was sort of like everybody who knows what those airplanes can do and was watching that recognized that was that would have been really spectacular. He was close to making that a really spectacular scene.
Splashtacular. What was the thing you were talking about?
Well, it's not a thing exactly. We're all finding our way. In fact, we're just looking at driving in towards the camera. As we got more comfortable, all of us, we could get the distances closer and we could do what we need to do. But we had somebody felt uncomfortable a couple of times. There's some footage out there passing too close to the camera on the ground, and so there's dust devils and lawn chairs being sucked up into the picture and things like that. So Rat came to me and said we need to get a better handle on that, and I agreed, and so we made a couple of changes, and that's where that all stopped. So it's all good.
Okay.